Hi, and welcome back to another WRSA interview. Today I have Chelsea with me, and we're going to be reflecting on her life as a student athlete. Hi, Chelsea. Thanks for coming. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Chelsea, like she said, Chelsea McKay. I am a Swampy Cree woman from Pamichikamak Cree Nation, also known as Cross Lake. I have one beautiful baby boy who is now 3. I recently just finished up my final practicum of my Bachelor of Education degree. So I'm graduating at the end of the month of May. Um, I graduated in 2019 with my undergrad degree, and that was my Bachelor of Physical Education Studies. I've been a student athlete for 6 years throughout my time going to school at Brandon University. Um, one of the years I redshirted after I had my son. Definitely a busy person. I like to do sports, keeping active. Um, but yeah, that's me.
All great things. Really excited that you're graduating.
Yeah, finally 7 years going to school. I'm finally almost done, or finally done. Finally done. I'm done.
Awesome. Let's get right into discussing your life as a student athlete. Let's start with some of the things that you've learned while being a student athlete.
Some of the things I learned quickly. Well, in my first year of school, I came out. I wasn't a student athlete yet. So my first year was just strictly going to school. And then my second year, I tried out for the BU women's soccer team. I made the team, and it was like a quick transition of just being a student to now I'm being a student athlete. I didn't have my son at the time, so it was just school and doing practices and games and everything. It was like a quick adjustment. One of the things that I really learned is that you need to establish routines when you're a student athlete. How demanding and how much dedication you have to be a student athlete with practices, games, weight training, conditioning training, all that kind of stuff, and then having to do a lot of things with team aspect things where you're volunteering your time or whatever the case is. So it's really just knowing your routines from the get-go of when you're starting out in September to, or maybe in August, to when you end. It's so important to have those routines right away. So that's one of the things that I learned from a very early time when I started as a student athlete.
Yeah, definitely. Those are very important things. What are some things that you struggled with in the beginning of being a student athlete, or even just through your experience of being a student athlete?
How busy you are being a student athlete. Like I said, those practices, games, everything else in between. Um, One of the things that I struggled with in my first couple of years was not taking care of myself. I was strictly studying, doing this, doing that, going to practices, going to games, and everything else in between, and never took time to myself. So in the end, when season would be done or whatever the case, even in between season, I would be so burnt out of everything else. I didn't take care of my body. So it's really just knowing your body and knowing when you need to stop, when you need to slow down, when you need to take time to yourself. I think that's a really big thing that I learned during that time, and that I struggled with in my first couple of years. And then it carried over right after I had my son, and I was still a student athlete. And I just realized how important it is to have those times and to yourself to just take care of yourself and your body, especially after the games or after the practices. How you're taking care of your body afterwards is a really big thing if you want to keep going the next day. So yeah, just taking time to those self, is that if that's just going and taking a bath right after a practice or whatever the case is, or going to the grocery store by yourself, like that's a big thing for me now being a mom, is just having that time to myself to just take care of my mind, that mental health aspect, but also your physical aspect too of your body.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. What were your favorite parts of being a student athlete?
I have so many favorite things. I think one of the biggest things that was my favorite parts was just meeting the different teammates that I had throughout the years and the different coaches that I had. All the traveling trips, I know with COVID, we couldn't do a lot of that, but those were some really good memories that I had throughout my 6 years of being a student athlete. The teammates that I've met since my first year, like I still talk to this day. I still hold good relationships with a lot of them to this day. So I think that's the best part of being a student athlete is creating those relationships, and those will last a lifetime. I'll still talk to them when I'm 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And the different coaches that I've had about three different coaches, Reiner Shiria, Sarah Shira, Scott Hadaway, and Jesse Rozier, and so many different coaches that I met along the way that have helped me become a better student athlete and a better athlete. That is one of the biggest memories that I have for sure. And those different trips that you take out of town and socializing with your team, with the men's team, with the women's team, and just having those connections all around. And those will last a lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Finally, do you have some advice that you would give to individuals who are upcoming student athletes or who just want to be student athletes when they get older?
Some advice that I can give you, it's extremely hard. Like, I won't sugarcoat that. I won't say that it's easy. You have to have a lot of commitment and dedication to what you want to do and who you want to become. I know so many teammates that have gone through, nursing degrees or science degrees, degrees that are much more demanding. And seeing them do that and knowing that, okay, I can do that too if they're doing that. And so it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of commitment to be a student athlete, and it's how hard you want to work. I know for some people it wasn't for them, and then they didn't continue on to be a student athlete. So it's just knowing how much time and commitment and dedication that you want to put into being a student athlete. And knowing that when you are a student athlete, that it's okay to fail. It's okay to, kind of go down on yourself, because you have a whole team to look after you. You have your coaches, you have the whole school. I know when I was going through a hard time, academically, I had so many resources being not just a student at Brandon University, but also being a student athlete too. So when you are a student athlete and you feel like it's overwhelming, don't be afraid to just ask for help or want the help or need the help that you need. But yeah, it takes a lot of time, commitment, and dedication. And if you have that, then it's all easy from there.
Yeah, definitely. Those are really great pieces of advice to give. Well, that's all that I have today, Chelsea. So thank you again for coming.